Something that I've always said on this channel, that I will continue to say on this channel, is how important it is to call out the lies, the deceit, the disinformation and misinformation that is coming to us from the right. I've also noticed how much more important it is after the results of the last election. Unchecked lies lead to poor decisions being made in the voting booth. Unchecked lies have also led to low voter turnout. So I'm making it my mission to continue to call out and debunk the lies and false narratives coming from Donald Trump and J.D. Vance. So when I see J.D. Vance go on CBS's Face the Nation with Margaret Brennan and try to deflect from the questions about pardoning January 6th insurrectionists who were violent toward police officers, I have to call it out. I want you to watch this video and tell me if anything he says in this answer should be considered anything more than bullshit.
Electroshock weapon against a policeman who was dragged out of the defensive line by plunging it into the officer's neck. He was imprisoned, sentenced to 12 years, 7 months. He got a pardon. Ronald Maccabee hit a cop while wearing reinforced brass knuckle gloves, and he held one down on the ground as other rioters assailed the officer for over 20 seconds, causing a concussion. If you stand with law enforcement, how can you call these people unjustly imprisoned?
Margaret, you're separating, there's an important issue here. There's what the people actually did on January the 6th, and we're not saying that everybody did everything perfectly.
First of all, not one of them did anything perfectly because they went to the Capitol under false pretenses. They were lied to by Donald Trump and went there with the intentions of disrupting the peaceful transfer of power. To say we're not saying everyone did everything perfectly implies that someone did something perfectly there and absolutely no one did. Not one of them.
And then what did Merrick Garland's Department of Justice do in unjustly prosecuting well over 1,000 Americans in a way that was politically motivated?
Like that.
So this is his first argument. He's trying to say that the January 6th insurrectionists weren't afforded due process. And then he tries to bring into the conversation every one of the 1,500 or so who were pardoned when she was asking about two very specific people who committed very violent acts. First of all, many of these people were given due process, but specifically the two that she's talking about were definitely given due process and they pled guilty. And this is something that I hear many of the MAGAs repeating, and it is because of one of two things. Some of them know that it's a lie, but they don't care. But the majority of them don't know it is a lie, and those are the people who are targeted by J.D. Vance and Donald Trump the most. They banked on the ignorance of their constituents and unfortunately, even some of the people on the left, and it worked. For the record, this is 100% a lie. Most of the January 6ers were afforded due process and the ones who hadn't been yet were awaiting trial. Just like most people in America who have been accused of committing crimes.
Is violence like that against a police officer ever justified?
Violence against a police officer is not justified, but that doesn't mean that you should have Merrick Garland's weaponized Department of Justice expose you to incredibly unfair process.
Violence against a police officer is not justified, but... You know, I'm old enough to remember when Republicans would say, well, violence against police officers is never justified. But everything with Republicans comes with conditions as long as it is politically beneficial for them. We should never allow Republicans to ever say that they back the blue without saying, bullshit. You guys allowed a bunch of people who violently attacked police officers to go free. Anytime Donald Trump talks about other countries dumping their criminals off into our streets, we should always respond with, you dumped 1,500 criminals into our streets as well. There was absolutely no weaponization of Merrick Garland's Department of Justice against these January 6th insurrectionists. In fact, until it became politically expedient for Republicans to defend these violent attackers, all of them, politicians and regular people, were expressing their disdain for what was going on at the Capitol that day. Many of the same politicians who are applauding their release today were calling for their heads days after this happened. This is all you need to know about the Republican Party today. If it will benefit them politically, they're on the side of it. One thing I can guarantee you is that I will 100% be calling this out every day. If you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do. We're on the road to 100,000 subscribers, and I really do appreciate every single one of you guys being here with me on this journey to make sure we hold the Republican Party accountable. Period.
Don't want no enemies or ops. Envy in they heart, I tell them stop. Vacation on the yacht.